there, friends. Kevin here from the Chord Progression Podcast. The podcast is by young rock and metal fans discover new music and help them find a place they can connect and feel accepted. This whole entire time that we've been reacting to clips with Will from Earshot, with his time on the Chord Progression Podcast, they've all involved around how much it is costing to go out on tour, from the band's logistics to what the promoters are dealing with, and then to why ticket prices are so high, especially for some of those larger tours. But one thing that especially us as fans don't realize is how much does it take to actually make a song? And I'm not talking about just write a song. I'm talking about to write it, to record it, to mix it, to master it, to release it, everything around there. Well, Will gave us one hell of an answer for you guys, and it's going to be like, whoa. I did not know that. Before we jump in it though, hit the like button right down there to make sure you push this video in the algorithm. It helps us out. It helps out Earshot. Just helps get more eyes and ears on all of us. And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, hit the subscribe button right down here, as full episodes of the podcast come out every single Tuesday and Thursday, reaction clips throughout the week, and of course, song reactions every single Friday. Enough with me talking. Let's jump into it.
Similarly with recording music, it's expensive to even record and put out a song. Every time that we've put out one of the singles that we've put out over the last few years has cost $3,000 to $4,000 to put out one song. By the time you factor in studio time and equipment and paying someone to mix it, mastering it, then you got to pay a publicist, you got to pay all these different people to get things done that we're just simply not cut out to do. We don't know how to do them. So you have to hire people to do things that you don't know how to do. And it's like running a business. It's like running any other business a band is. And so when we're talking about, the idea of releasing and recording a whole album, remember I told you every single costs us $3,000 to $4,000 every time. Mm-hmm. So now times that by 10 or 12 songs, it's a big expenditure to get behind. So again, it goes back to the analytics. How many people are listening to what we're doing? How many people are following us? How many people are asking for this? Is it financially worth? It's not a question of do we want to do it? We're writing and recording things all of the time. But when you're talking about putting them into production, that's where it starts to, the money starts kicking in and you have to start paying for things. It's like, it's like a car manufacturer. Like they have people that are designing car ideas, but once it goes into productions and they start melting metal and putting things in and that's when things start to cost. So it's no different for a band than any other business really. And that's the one thing that, I think is sort of glossed over and lost upon, people, because again, why would they? It's music. They're listening to the end product. It doesn't really dawn on people the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes to get to that point.
Alrighty, even during the podcast, during that reaction, I still couldn't believe that the fact and the figure that he gave us when it came to just how much it takes to produce a song and get it out there and market it, because you got to think, if you're going to put out a 12-song album, if you're going to put out just one single, you're going to have to write that song, you're going to have to get it recorded, get it mixed, mastered, release it, and then have it publicized and have a publicist that's going to help you market all this stuff in order to make sure your music and your art gets out there as best as possible. And I mean, if you have a 10 to 12 song album, if it's only 10 songs, that could cost between $30,000 and $40,000 just to have it mixed, mastered, and then put out there. But if it's 12 songs, that's $36,000 to $48,000. That is a hell of a lot of money. And for a band that's continuing to write and trying to do stuff, you have to be very selective of what you put into production and what you try and record and mix and master, because that's when the money starts kicking in and you have to be more economically smart with it. Of course, us as, the music listeners, that's not something that we're going to be concerned about, because what we're concerned about is what is the end product and how does it hit us emotionally, because music is art and it's going to hit on so many emotions that's what we really care about. But when it comes to bands making music, now you might understand why some bands take so long to release music, because maybe they have 20, 30 different ideas that they're working on that they write within a year. But in order to make sure they figure out what ideas of those are going to be the best to put on an album, they make the best album possible or make the best EP possible. they're going to have to sit down and really figure out what's going to be the best way for them to go about it because of how much money it costs to do this. And his analogy with car manufacturers, where you can have 10, 20 people design a car on their own, but you're going to want to pick the one that's going to be best, because once you pick that one and starts going to production, that's where all the money starts kicking in, because you need the materials, the labor, everything around there to get that car into production and get out the door and then have people buy it. It's similar with music as well, in that kind of an instance where you have to figure out, you can have 20,000 songs, but if you're going to put on an album, you want to have just 12, you got to figure out what the best 12 is going to be for you and for the audience, and then put it in production, because that's when the money rolls in. And then once it's out there, now people have it in their hands, and especially when it could cost almost $50,000, you don't want to just take a swing at something and hope for the best. You want to make sure it's a calculated move. And I'm so glad Will got to bring this up. This was one of my favorite conversations, especially coming from my economics background. That's what I studied in college. So I want to know what you guys thought about this one. So put in the comments what you think about it. If this was a shocking thing to you, like, I couldn't believe this cost this much. If you want to watch our whole entire episode with Will, link in the description of this video. You can also listen to the whole podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and Amazon. If you like this video, though, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, hit the subscribe button right here, as is the best way to promote the podcast and support the podcast. We put out new videos, full podcast episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday, reaction clips throughout the week, and song reactions every single Friday. Thank you guys. This one has been awesome. This is Kevin, and I'm out.